Hi everyone, Miss Cush back here to talk about sexual versus asexual reproduction today. Today we'll explain why variation could be beneficial in a population and describe the advantages and disadvantages of both sexual and asexual reproduction. Now, if you did your assignment from yesterday, which you may or may not have done at this point, you probably read about some interesting reproduction methods of some of those organisms. Like, for example, the blue-headed wrasse, the females can actually turn into males when the conditions are right. The duck leeches have both male and female parts, but still need a mate to reproduce. They can't reproduce on their own, so they still need to get the sperm from another leech in order to fertilize their eggs. And then the desert grasslands whiptail lizard, they're actually all female. There are no males of that species. And they reproduce through a method called parthenogenesis, which is more similar to a form of asexual reproduction because they don't, because all of the organisms are genetically identical to the parent. Okay, so if we take a look at this video, okay, so this is a form of asexual reproduction. So just take a look and then describe what you see or think about what you see happening in the video. Okay. So I'll watch it through twice, just as we would in class. So Streptococcus, this is a type of bacteria. You notice you start with 2 become 4, and then watch what happens over time. Okay, until the whole thing was filled with bacteria. So we'll watch through one more time. So this is a time lapse, so it's sped up just a little. Okay, so again, you start with 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. So notice that 1 divides into 2. It doesn't need a partner. Okay, so they're all going to be exactly the same, genetically identical. And it's going to happen pretty fast. All right, we also saw this in our lab when we did the bacteria with the petri dishes. The bacteria grew in about 2 days. So that's relatively quick when you compare it to humans, which take 9 months to reproduce. Okay, now if you remember Toy Story, the scene from Toy Story, you won't be able to hear it, but you can at least see it. Okay, so Buzz goes into the toy machine with all the aliens, and you see how the claw is going to choose the toy, and when Sid, I believe his name is, comes to play, so first he picks the alien, and then he notices a Buzz Lightyear, which he wants to pick because it's different than all the rest, right? So why sexual reproduction? Well, one of the main reasons is because it produces differences. So all of the organisms will be genetically different, right? We've seen this picture before. So all of these are the same species, but they look different. One's orange, one's red, one's black. So this could help with the survival of a species in case the environment changes over time, right? So we've seen this picture too. This is, again, natural selection. So the bird will easily see the light-colored mice and eat them. So over time you'll see less light-colored mice and more dark-colored mice because they easily blend into the background and camouflage. If the environment changes to a light-colored background, then it would be the opposite. The dark mice would be eaten and the light mice will blend in, okay? But if they were all the same, then it would be a high chance that the whole species would get wiped out, okay? So here's the important stuff. This would be your notes. So sexual reproduction, there's both advantages and disadvantages. One of the main advantages of sexual reproduction is that it creates organisms with differences. So there's a lot of genetic variation. So whenever we refer to genetic, okay, we're talking about your DNA. So there's a lot of differences in your DNA. And there's also a lot of parental care. So any organism, or most organisms that reproduce sexually, like humans for example, the parents tend to take good care of their offspring, so it increases their chance of survival. Okay. The disadvantages is that you need two parents, you need an egg and a sperm. It's slow, like we said, humans take 9 months to reproduce. Other organisms can take years or several months as well, so it takes a long time. And we only produce a few offspring at a time, like 1 to 2. So humans usually only have 1 baby at a time. Sometimes they'll have twins or more than that, but that's pretty rare. So sexual reproduction, they produce few offspring. Asexual reproduction, same thing, has good things, advantages, and disadvantages. So an advantage would be that more offspring, it produces a lot more offspring to allow at least some to survive. So we call that overproduction. We talked about that with fish. So fish lay thousands of eggs at a time because a lot of them will die. So an advantage is that some will at least survive. Like we saw in the video, there's a fast reproduction rate, so they reproduce very quickly, and it only requires one parent, right? So there's no sperm and egg, there's no male and female, it's just one splitting into two, and so on. Disadvantages, there's little parental care, so like with the fish lay their eggs and then just leave them, they don't really take care of them. So most of the offspring, again, will die, and there's no genetic variation, so all of the DNA is exactly the same as the parent. So more likely species will die if the environment changes. Again, like we see in this picture. If they were all genetically identical, then they would all be eaten and the species would most likely die off or become extinct. Okay, so just to summarize, why does variation, so remember variation means differences, why does variation occur in a population? To create differences, to allow at least some organisms to survive. What would happen if the ground the mice lived on was lighter? So then the light-colored mice will survive and reproduce, but the dark-colored mice will die. Okay? And then how does variation ensure that the species will survive through change in the environment? Because genetic differences allow some to survive even if some die. Okay? So again, both sexual and asexual reproduction have advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage of sexual reproduction is that they produce a lot of genetic variation to allow some organisms to survive if the environment changes. Alright, hopefully you all complete your assignment by later on today, and I will post again tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Miss you. Bye.